Hello everyone and welcome to CarNamics. Today I'm going to be showing you everything that you should be checking on your car when you do an oil change. Now the stuff that I'm going to show you is going to make sure that your car stays maintained and off the side of the road. So let's jump into it. All right, so we're gonna check all the stuff under the hood first. So obviously, raise your hood. All right, so everything that we show you here is gonna be a little different on your car. However, the general principle applies. So we're gonna start off by checking the air filter. There's either gonna be little screws that hold it down or some clips. Pull that off, take your filter out. And when you hold up to some light, you should see light through it. That generally means it's good. If you see a bunch of leaves and crap in there, use common sense there. You're gonna check your battery, make sure there's no corrosion on your terminals, and check the date. Either gonna be a sticker on the side or the top. Normally there's gonna be one there. And you're gonna wanna see if it's past about 4 or 5 years old, they do start to get a little weaker. If you have to, bring it to a shop and they can test it for you to make sure you don't get stranded somewhere. Moving on, we're gonna check our brake fluid and obviously make sure it's between the minimum and the maximum mark. A lot of times people will see their brake fluid on minimum and they'll start adding fluid before they look at their pads. Don't do that. Check your pads, and if your pads are low, change your brake pads first and then add fluid. Now if it's below the minimum mark, add fluid. We're going to check our automatic transmission fluid if you have an automatic. Your car may or may not have a dipstick for that. If it does, pull it out, make sure it's between the minimum and the maximum mark. Now a lot of cars require it running, however some do not require it running. So check your owner's manual to see how to check that first. Your fluid color should be normally like a pink red color. It shouldn't be gray or dark brown or anything like that. So check that. If you have a manual, you're not going to be able to just pull a dipstick out. You're going to need to get up underneath the car. So normally with transmission fluid, a manual transmission fluid, you're just going to want to go with your service interval. So when you hit 60,000 miles, if that's what your car calls for, go ahead and change the fluid out. If there's no leaks visible on the transmission, your fluid level should be okay. If you do want to check it, it's pretty easy. You got to pull that top fill plug out, and if a little bit of fluid just drips out, you're good. Over here, we're going to check our engine coolant. You want that, again, between the minimum and the maximum mark. You guessed it. The colors can be different for these things. So some cars run red, some cars run like a bluish color, and most run green. So don't freak out if you see red fluid because you're used to using green. We're going to go ahead and also check the drive belts here. So you want to make sure there are no cracks in the belts and that there are no parts of it that are swelled up, maybe from oil leaking on it. You want it to be nice and hard, not too hard, but you want it to be, you don't want it to be flimsy. Go ahead and check for any coolant leaks here at the front at the radiator, if you can see it. Check all of your coolant hoses, upper and lower radiator hose, and your heater hoses if you can get to them. Now if your car has power steering, hydraulic power steering, you're going to want to check that fluid. Now a lot of modern vehicles are going away with that. They have electric steering now. And if you don't know where all this stuff is in your car, you can get your owner's manual out and check, and it should show you what container houses each fluid. We're going to pause right there. If this video is helpful, please give us a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you want to see our new videos in the future. We have a lot of awesome stuff on our channel. You should go check it out. Let's get back to it. All right, so we're going to stop about halfway up, and we're going to go ahead and check our wheel for any movement. So we're checking the ball joints, the wheel bearing, and the tie rod ends. So you're going to grab your wheel at 9 and 3, and you're going to shake this thing. And if you have any movement, now what I mean by that, obviously it's going to move because the wheel is going to turn, right? But you want to look for any like a thumping where this wheel is turning and not the other one. So it's like a thump, thump, thump. And you do the same thing just at 12 and 6. And that could either mean you have a bad wheel bearing, ball joint, or tie rod end. While we're here, we're going to go ahead and check our brakes. So if you can see through your wheels, you're going to look inside of here and look at your pads. If you can see them, you may have to take your wheels off to see the brake pads, and also check on the other side. If you look from the back side in, you might be able to see them as well. And you're just looking for to see how much meat you have left on there. We're gonna go ahead and check our shocks. We're gonna check it for any kind of residue where oil could be leaking. All right, so we're gonna check on the back side of the wheel here and make sure there are no tears or cracks in the ball joint boots, and same for the tie rod ends. And also check your axle for any tears in the boot. They'll start slinging grease when they are torn. Check your brake line and your calipers, make sure they're not leaking. Check your stabilizer link there. And how you're going to check that is you're going to grab it, move it up and down a little bit, and if it has any kind of clunking noise or you can feel it moving, that's a sign that those are bad. Check for any leaks underneath the car here. That includes engine, transmission, coolant, power steering. Check for leaks around your radiator if you can see it. Check those plastic side caps. Those tend to crack and leak. And if you can reach your lower radiator hose, you can also check that and make sure it's not too stiff or too soft. Same for this side. All right, we're gonna move on to the back here. So pretty much the same thing as you did to the front. If you have disc brakes in the back, it's going to be the same. If you have drum brakes, you're going to want to spin these wheels back here and make sure they don't freewheel. You want them to have a little bit of resistance on those. If they don't have any resistance, it's time for an adjustment back there. Check that wheel cylinder. This has disc brakes, so I can't actually show you what it looks like, but it'll be right there on top, near the top of the wheel there. You want to check that for any leaks. Check your stabilizer links, your shocks for any leakage. If you have a pickup truck, go ahead and check your rear axle for any leaks and check your rear drive shaft there. If you grab that and shake it and you see the universal joints moving, that's a sign that those joints are bad. And if you have four-wheel drive, it's gonna be the same thing for the front drive axle. And one last thing, check your tire pressure. A look in your door jamb. Normally they put a sticker in there for you. It'll tell you what PSI to set that to. All right guys, and that is it. So if this video was helpful, please, again, leave us a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon. We've got a lot of cool stuff on there, including a race car. It's pretty darn cool. You should go look at it. We got a playlist. It's right down there in the description. Go look at it. It's awesome. I promise. And be sure to share with your friends so they also know what to do when they change their oil. If you care about them, you should share with your friends. Share it with your friends. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.